For the better part of a century, one book has been a giant in the self-help world. It sold millions and millions of copies by promising a secret, a formula for incredible wealth. That book, of course, is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So today, we're going to dig into it. Is its message a timeless truth, or is it a modern myth? It all really boils down to this single, incredibly powerful idea. This is the core promise, right? The thing that just grabs you and has fascinated millions of people. The belief that your thoughts don't just, affect your mood. They can actually shape your reality. So Hill wasn't just talking to philosophy here. He was getting super practical. He basically claimed that thoughts are things, that an idea, if you really nurture it, could literally be turned into a physical financial fortune. Now, that's a pretty bold claim, and he used an amazing story to back it up. Okay, so picture this. It's 1900, and a guy named Charles M. Schwab gives an after-dinner speech. And who's in the audience? The legendary J.P. Morgan. Schwab doesn't just talk about boring numbers. No, he paints a picture, an idea, a vision for bringing the entire steel industry together into one massive company, which would later become U.S. Steel. And boom, right there, that's Hill's whole point in a nutshell. That one idea, shared with passion and clarity, was valued at around $600 million in profit. Not the steel mills, not the equipment, but the thought that put it all together. For Hill, this was case closed, Exhibit A for the power of the mind. So the big question is, how do you actually do this? Well, Hill didn't just sell an idea, he sold a system. He laid out what he said were 13 specific steps, a kind of blueprint for turning your desires into cold, hard cash. Now, the full blueprint has 13 steps, but these are the absolute pillars. It all kicks off with a burning desire, and he means something way more intense than just a wish. Then you have to back that up with unwavering faith that you will achieve it, period. After that, you use something called autosuggestion to basically program your subconscious mind for success. And finally, you make a solid plan and just keep at it with relentless persistence. And that brings us to persistence. This is a biggie for Hill. For him, this wasn't just some nice quality to have. It was the absolute dividing line between making it and failing. And he tells one of the most famous stories in self-help history to prove it. So the story goes like this. We're in the middle of the gold rush. A man named R.U. Darby and his uncle, they go west, stake a claim, and what do you know? They actually find gold. They've hit the jackpot. But then, just as fast as it showed up, the vein of gold just disappears. So they drill, and nothing. You can just imagine the frustration, right? The doubt starts creeping in, and feeling totally defeated, they make a huge decision. They're done. They quit. They sell all their machinery to a local junkman for just a few $100 and head home completely crushed. But here's the kicker. The junkman, he's a little smarter. He doesn't just start digging randomly. He hires an expert, an engineer. The engineer checks out the mine and realizes that Darby's failed because they didn't know about geological fault lines. He figures the gold vein was waiting just 3 feet from where they stopped drilling. 3 feet. The junkman drills, finds it, and ends up making millions. What a lesson, right? The cost of giving up can be astronomical. It's an incredible story, and the book is packed with them. But to really get Think and Grow Rich, we have to look past the powerful message and take a hard look at the controversial man who wrote it. Because this is where the whole story gets complicated. Turns out, Napoleon Hill's own life was filled with just as many spectacular failures and controversies as the successes he wrote about. And this has sparked a really fierce debate that's been going on for decades. This right here was his calling card. This was his claim to fame. Hill said he was handpicked by Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in history, to go out and interview all the other titans of industry and basically distill their secrets for the world. He was the chosen one. But then you have this. This is a pretty common take you'll find today in online discussions and critiques. It's blunt, it's dismissive, and it completely reframes Hill, not as a genius, but as a total fraud who just made up his most important stories, including the whole thing with Andrew Carnegie. So you've basically got these two camps. On one side, critics point to a long history of failed businesses and accusations that he was a scammer selling false hope. But on the other side, you have his supporters. And they say, so what? Who cares if the stories aren't 100% literally true? Their point is, if the principles in the book actually work and help people, does the messenger's messy life even matter?
Okay, this debate can get really personal really fast. So, you know what? Let's take a step back from Napoleon Hill man and look at the core idea of his philosophy through a totally different lens modern science.
A few years back in 2021, a paper took a serious scientific look at autosuggestion. That's the technical term for the self-suggestion that Hill made famous. They wanted to figure out if there was anything real, anything measurable behind this whole captivating idea. So what is autosuggestion, really? Well, here's how the scientists break it down. It's not magic or anything supernatural. It's a cognitive process. The basic idea is that with conscious effort, you can actually gain some control over your own internal states, your thoughts, your feelings, and maybe even your body. Now, this is a really important distinction. A lot of people mix this up with the law of attraction, which is often described as this kind of cosmic force that brings things to you. But that's not what scientists are talking about. They see autosuggestion as an internal, top-down process happening inside your brain, kind of like the placebo effect, where your belief alone can create a real physical change. So, what did the scientists actually find? Well, the evidence is promising, but it's not a slam dunk. They say the research is still pretty scarce. But, and this is a huge but, they confirmed that these top-down cognitive mechanisms are real. And that's key, because those mechanisms can directly impact things like your focus, your motivation, your resilience. So there's a plausible scientific reason for how focus and belief could lead to change, even if we don't have all the details yet. So, where does all of this leave us? We've got Hill's really inspiring philosophy, a whole storm of controversy about the man himself, and this intriguing but still incomplete picture from science. Let's try and put it all together. Okay, so let's just break it down one more time. We're left with three different ways to look at this. You've got Hill's original idea, your thoughts create your reality, and he uses incredible stories to prove it. Then you've got the critical view, that it's a dangerous lie sold by a potential fraud. And finally, you have the scientific view, which suggests there really is a cognitive process here, even if it's not totally understood. Three very different takes on the exact same idea. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. After all the debate, all the science, is the real power in some secret formula passed down from billionaires? Or is the power simply in the focused, persistent, unwavering act of believing in something? Maybe that's the real secret that's worth thinking about.